Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about student life in Australia versus student life in Canada. Now real quick before I start talking about all the really important stuff, I just want to let you guys know that I've decided to switch my recording time to earlier in the day. So if you guys hear like a lot of chaos and noise and honking and screaming and yelling and dogs and barking and things like that, it is because I have decided to record earlier in the day. So it kind of helps me to be a little bit more alive for you guys in the video and also help me get to bed early, which I am sure none of you care about. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk to you guys about student life in Canada versus student life in Australia. The reason why I decided to combine these videos was just to give you guys a general comparison, because often I find I will post something about Australia, and as you may have seen, I recently started talking about Canada and people have started asking me questions about this versus this, so I thought this would be a cool little series to also have on top of talking about the specific countries and specific sort of cultures and customs and traditions and things like that. So let's start you guys off with Australian and Canadian universities and how they compare to the world. I honestly believe that both Canadian and Australian institutions are incredibly good. When you are applying to a school or institution or college or whatever you want to do or study in either of these countries, the first thing that I want to tell you guys is to make sure that you are applying to a legitimate institution. There are a lot of schools that have opened up in a lot of countries like Europe, like England, in Canada, the United States, and Australia, which have primarily only been set up for immigration purposes, that people can pay like a much smaller fee. They can apply as a student and they can go there and study, but at the end of the day, after all the money you pay, there actually isn't really any recognition for the course that you've done on a larger scale, especially if you're looking to become a more like a professional in a field such as engineering or architecture or the sciences and things like that. If you're applying for like a vocational course, then you have a lot more options and the pricing does come down a lot more. Obviously, my experience in Canada has not been as an international student, but it has sort of come a lot through sort of my friends who have been international students. But in Australia, I did do a short course for a little while, and it was actually because I was interested in it, and it did end up giving me a little bit time to stay there longer. The thing that happened was when I was in Australia, I went through a student migration agency and they wound up being a scam. I paid them close to $5,000. They took the money and they gave me what they said was a student visa, but when I traveled out of Australia and came back in, I actually got held at immigration and they said my visa was fake. So you can just imagine how devastated I was because I lost all this money. I did report them, but nothing happened. I can't remember their name now because this happened quite a few years ago. So if I'm not rambling too fast, the first thing that I would recommend and suggest before you apply to either institution or country or course or whatever, make sure the university is recognized and accredited. You can actually ask the university that, or they will have it somewhere on their website. And make sure the student migration agency that you go through is also recognized by the university. So if you open up the university's website, like you can go to Sydney, Toronto, Queensland, UBC, wherever you want to go, every university will have its set of migration agents. The cool thing is that student migration agents are actually free. You don't have to pay any money for their services, and they can often lodge your application for you and make it a little bit easier. Some migration agents, I think, take money to lodge your application for you, but often they do it for free, and they can also make sure that your application is fully complete and help improve your chances of getting approved into a university, a college, or whatever school you want to go to. A lot of people have started asking me very specific questions about like all these professions that you guys are in. And while I do want to help you guys out, I don't know about every single profession as it goes. I do obviously know a lot about personal training because that is what I do for a living, and I did carry over my profession to Australia, and I want to make a video for personal trainers, which I think would be very helpful. Unfortunately, I don't have like any information about like people who want to be a chef or a massage therapist or engineers and things like that. I think the thing is that you should go to a good school, because afterwards, if you do want to stay in the country long term or apply for a decent job, if your school is just like a fake, it's not really going to improve your chances, and you are going to spend quite a lot of money. I think even the cheap institutions in Australia would cost you guys about $10,000 Australian a year, and that is a lot of money. Just give me one sec. I have a bit of a cold, so I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. So what I was saying was that make sure that the school you go through is a good school. When you look at the average tuition of an international student in the in any Canadian province or in Australia, I do honestly think that studying in Canada is a lot cheaper than studying in Australia. I don't know why that is. I don't think that the quality of education in Australia is like that much better. It's not to discredit it. Like, I actually really wanted to do my doctorate in Australia, but because it's so expensive, I've decided to go back to my home country and just pay the local fee. But even as an international student, I don't think that the comparison is that much. The average undergrad fee and the average graduate fee I will put down on the screen. I will look it up after I finish this video. And then the average undergrad and graduate fee for Australia, like the graduate fee in Australia, which I know about because I wanted to study, was close to $50,000 a year. And to me, that is just way too crazy. I did try and consider applying for funding and things like that, but even then, I mean, I don't think it will measure up to how much I would pay in Canada to be a local student. But again, that is a little bit, I guess, not as useful for you guys, for me to compare being a local student in Canada to being an international student in Australia. So when it comes to applying for jobs, which is very important, a lot of you guys are probably going to wonder this, especially if you are an international student, which is probably why you're watching this video. The Canadian government allows you to work 20 hours a week as an international student. The cool thing that has changed over the last, I think, 2 years is that initially you could only work on campus, which means if you're going to a school or a university or a college, you can only get employed and work for your institution. So you can work at the cafe or the bookstore within the school. You weren't allowed to work outside of the university or college premises. This was really hard because a lot of local students were also applying for those jobs, and it became very competitive for a lot of international students who were struggling and didn't have the option to go off campus like most Canadians, or every Canadian does. Sorry, in the 2 years, the change that has happened is now you can go off campus and seek jobs anywhere. So you can work retail, you can work at the coffee shop, you can work with a local business or whatever you want. The hours are still the same. You can only work you can only work 20 hours a week. In Australia, the thing that's a little bit different, and I think it's cool, is that you can work 40 hours in a 2-week period. So whether you do those 40 hours spread over the 2 weeks, or you just kind of go and like bust your gut, because I don't want to say the other word, and you want to just work like 4 10-hour days in 1 week, you actually have the option to do that. So there's no stipulation in terms of you can only do the 20 hours. So in case you have an exam or something like that happening a week, or you go away, you can come back and work those 40 hours and make some money to put in your pocket, because being a student is very expensive. So the health cover in both countries is available for international students, and you have to purchase health insurance as a requirement to be a student in the country. The cool thing is that if you were to go to a doctor in either of these countries and you don't have health cover, you would probably end up paying close to $100 for your visit and your medication or any further tests that they need to do. If you have health cover, your student cover will actually cover all the basic costs like dental, doctor visits. I think it covers a portion of your medications and things like that. So you can rest assured that if anything does happen, if you fall sick or you need anything, you have that sort of I guess comfort to fall back on, and you know that you don't have to wait to go back to your home country just to get something checked out. And this is a big thing, because like often you will find yourself stressed out, especially during exam time, that you will need to go to the doctors or whatever. And so when you have the health cover, which you need to get anyways, it is a couple $100s a year, but it's so worth it. And then you don't have to worry if anything happens to you. And then you can choose the level to which you want to be covered. Like if there is already an existing medical condition you have, just make sure that you get the health cover that covers treatment or whatever for that, so that you don't end up paying extra for something like that. Minimum wage is the last thing that I want to talk about, because this video is getting a little bit long and I feel a little bit sniffly. Okay, so wage is the last thing I want to talk about, so you have an idea of how much money you can make, and then I will end this video because I know it's getting very long, and I will make separate videos about both countries to cover more specific questions and concerns that you guys might have. In Canada, the national sort of minimum wage is $10, or I think $11 now, and in Australia the minimum wage is $16, or a couple cents over or under. Now I know a lot of you might think that the $16 almost sounds double to Canada, which is so cool, you'll make a lot of money, but the thing is Australia is a lot more expensive than Canada is. Things like rent and water and clothing and transportation does cost a lot more. If you have looked at my other videos where I actually talk about how much it costs to move around in Australia and live there, which I will link down below, you can see what I mean, and I will make the same video for Canada as well. So I am compiling a list of all the videos I am going to be making in the coming weeks. So while there is a minimum wage difference, so you guys can sort of estimate how much you will earn over your time there if you were to get a job, there are a lot of jobs that pay way more than that, but this is the minimum that you can expect to be paid. International students do not pay tax, so you actually get more money than a local student would, which is really, really cool. So you get all the money given to you that you earn, and there's nothing that's deducted for tax, especially in Canada, and I think that's the same for Australia also. So hopefully I didn't overwhelm you guys with too much information, but I really wanted to get this video out there because I know there's a lot of people who've been asking me about international students and colleges and all that sort of stuff. The one thing I forgot to mention is that a student visa application in Australia is, I think, $750 just to apply. I'm going to confirm the cost for Canada and I will put it right here, right now, and I'll edit it and just add it here. I think that's a really steep cost and I don't know why it's so expensive. So if you apply for a college or university, make sure you really want to go, because otherwise that's a lot of money to lose, especially if you're not coming from a country that earns in dollars. So that I found was very crazy, very expensive. Hopefully I am not wrong about this, but the last I can recollect, it was that much. I think if you are in Australia and it's your second time applying for a visa, I think it's $1,500. So again, I will confirm and put it all around this area, if not now, a couple seconds before or after. So make sure you really want to go to a country and apply before you do all the formalities, have your passport and visa and all those sort of things. You do get your visa after you've been approved to a college or institution. You cannot apply for a student visa unless you've been approved to an institution as a student and gotten accepted, okay? So any specific questions that you guys have, please leave them down below. Give this video a thumbs up if the noise behind me or anything did not bother you and you found this information useful. I will see you guys very soon with more chats about travel, and please don't forget to leave me questions so I know what you guys sort of want and I can give you guys information accordingly. Until next time, take care, think strong, and I will see you soon. Bye.